part of ultra running. As we seek the buckles, the finish lines, and the crazy distances, we experience a lot of failure along the way too. I'm Heidi.
And I'm Michelle, and we're both ultra runners and ultra running coaches who want to know more about the dreaded DNF, how, when, and why they happen, but more importantly, how we learn, we move forward, and we get back up to run again.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Run That Again, the show where we go over the hard races in ultra running, DNFs, the mindsets of how we can deal with them, learn from them, and grow from them. Please make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave a review, and sharing is always helpful and appreciated.
So we are super excited to welcome today Andrea Moore, who is joining us from Flagstaff, Arizona. I wore my Arizona Run shirt for you today. Andrea is, if you haven't checked out Andrea's social media profiles, go check out Instagram. We'll put all the links in the show notes, but her TikTok, her IG account, so much content, so much fun, and so super inspiring. So we're really excited to talk with her today. She's an ultra runner. She's a badass and a super cool human. Andrea, I know you've done several different podcast interviews before. Back in 2021, there was a cool story in the Run Try mag that was written about kind of your origin story, which was super awesome. There's I feel like you've told some of your origin story a little bit in terms of running, but I know your journey with running, it sounds like you had a really athletic childhood through high school and then life. And then it was almost exactly 8 years ago that your journey into running began, right?
Yep. Wow. It doesn't feel like 8 years. It feels like maybe 2 weeks ago.
No, what's absolutely wild to me looking through all of your accomplishments, everything, man, you jumped in whole self first and really you went in 8 years you ran your first 50K from what I found in February 2019. And since that time, you've towed the line at 50
a lot of races.
Ultra races and distances.
Just scroll a bit on Ultrasignup to get to the end.
Distances from PK and every kind of format, every kind of distance range, all the way through 200s, 250. You've done Cocodona now 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2 times. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot. It's a huge amount in a very short period of time. You know that your race calendar right now is stacked. It's always a stacked calendar, and you're just not someone who's afraid to take on massive challenges. I think you just embody the growth mindset, and I love the way that you approach and sort of your philosophy, your attitude toward doing hard things is so inspiring and powerful and relatable that I am super excited just to have you share a little bit of that with us tonight. And now shut up.
No, that all sounded really fancy, and I'm not sure really how to respond to that. I definitely don't see it that way. I see it as someone with ADHD that just somebody once one time said you can't, and there I went. So it's really, I don't know, anybody can do it, and it's just something that, I don't know, it kind of just took over my whole being. When someone says that I can't do something, it's like, okay, my whole personal identity is now this. And But, along the way, I found a community that is undescribable, and it has become my family and the trail family, from road running to trails to ultras. When people say it really is about the people that you meet, I mean, it's those people that have really lured me and have dragged me to where we are today, and it's really been a wild ride and something pretty spectacular. I love it. Yeah.
Andrea, your have to ask. So your first ultra was the Cowtown 50K. Is that
It
right?
was.
That was my
Yeah.
first ultra marathon too. Not the same year as
Yay!
you, but that was my first ever
How
ultra
was that?
marathon. Yeah. I was scrolling down. I was like, oh, that was, and I had to like compare the years, and I was like, wait, no, we weren't there the same year. But yeah, that was my first ever ultra marathon as well.
That is so amazing. In 2018, it's crazy. That was my second marathon, and it's one of the largest marathons in Texas.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really difficult course, but I don't know. We that was our BQ. We BQ'd at that course in 2018, and then I don't know. We were having cocktails at a pub or something with friends, and they were like, "Hey, what's 5 more miles next year?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What is 5 more miles? So yeah, the 50K. And that was my first ultra in 2019, which my coach at the time didn't like because we were about to run Boston. And he was like, "Why do you want to do this?" I think that race is it February?
It's
That
like
race in February?
February, I think.
Yeah.
February or
Right.
March, maybe. February. I think it's February.
Yeah. Somewhere in there, but he did not want me to run that 50K right before Boston.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, fun over results or whatever. I don't know. We were doing it with friends and it was amazing." So, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
It's a fun race. I didn't
Yeah.
really, because so much of it is on the road too.
Oh,
It's like,
it's all
it's
road,
pretty much
right?
all road except for the one little part that you go out at the 50K, and then you're kind of on like a park kind of trail
Yes.
for a bit. But that's like the only part. It's mostly road. So I hadn't really discovered like the trail ultra running community yet, but that
It's
was
waiting for you.
well, no, I found it now. I'm in it, but that was my first ever ultra marathon. So yeah,
How
that's pretty
fun.
cool.
Wow, that's amazing. Small world.
Yeah,
Ultra
that's
world.
awesome. Andrew, what led you to make that transition from road to trails?
It was absolutely COVID. And I would say that after Boston in 2019, it was kind of a check the box.
Mm-hmm.
Honey and I fulfilled our dream. We ran it together, and that was something super, super special. And that to me, just getting to run Boston with her was like, I don't care if I ever run Boston again. So my heart was just like, okay, well, what's the next thing? And so I think after you check off the fast box, for me, it was just far. So how far can we go? And I started visiting with some friends that had been in the trail running space. I was a road running nerd, and they were like, "Well, you can come run trails with us and we'll show you a whole nother side to running." And I'm super thankful for them. Let's see. Gosh, that was October as well. Was that October 2020? I think was our first trail running experience, but the trails offered that gateway to far, and that's
Yeah.
what we were interested in. And at first it was super icky. I was like, "Oh my god, there's dirt and grass and like weather elements, mud." It was a whole thing because whenever you're road running, you can totally zone out. Like you can, and
Yeah, yeah.
you could do that this whole trail thing, it was October, and I'll never forget it because 13 miles took us like 2.5 hours. And back then it was like, that took so long and it was so
Right.
hard. And
What's going on that it's so
yes,
slow?
yeah. And you weren't just running, you were like ducking and dodging and jumping. And it was a whole, and I was wrecked after that 13 miles.
Yeah.
But from there, trails was definitely the gateway to far. Yeah.
Definitely true. Yeah, it's a whole different kind of focus when you get on the trails. The amount of energy you're looking at the trail, looking for the rocks. Yeah.
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 It's so hard. I mean, I remember running that with John and Brandy that day, and I was just totally trashed. And I was like, I thought trail running was just running on dirt. Like, how was this so? And it wasn't like a tired feet situation, it was a full body. My gosh, what just happened?
Yep.
And I even recorded a video and I sent it to my coach, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was the hardest 13 miles I've ever run. And then what, I don't know, our first trail race was just 4 or 5 months after that. And wow, I had no idea what was coming.
I think that can, don't you think like sometimes that can kind of trip people up when they don't I don't know, they have their expectation is, yeah, I'm just going to go run on the dirt. I know my pace. I know what I'm used to. But you don't account for that sort of whole body, whole sensory being on and like locked in and attending to every detail and navigating. And it really does take a lot more, just a lot more energy from your whole system.
Yeah, I think it's part of that growth process, right? When you start trying something that I've never done this before. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember texting both Brandy and John, like, what do I wear? Is this the same like sports bra and road shoes? I You don't know what you don't know, and you're going into that uncharted territory, and it's like it's exciting, but it's also really scary because it's like I don't know, and what to wear, your whole fueling, I mean
Yeah.
everything. So, and we're just talking about terrain change. I
Right.
mean, imagine distance changes, all these other things that it was really scary that day. And I was also running with people that were trail runners. They knew, and I was like, I'm gonna try, and I'll come with you guys, and we'll see what happens. And it was like, woo, wow, lots of learning, right? Which is part of the growth process.
Yeah. And now you've taken that and you've done it like again and again and again and applied it to so many different levels and types of new challenges
Well,
on the
I mean,
trails.
I'm just looking at your Ultrasignup. It didn't take you long from that first 100K you
Half,
did on a
yeah.
well, it looks like you did Rocky Raccoon. Was that like your first big trail race?
So that was my first trail race, and I'm going to tell you, okay. So we talked about the community. There are
Yes.
crazy friends out there that say, "Hey, it's just a few more loops." Okay? And we love them. We love them so much. They're our chosen family. And so, a real quick backdrop to Rocky Raccoon. That was my first trail race, and they have different distances. So I just signed up for the 50K. Like, 13 miles just wrecked me. I don't even know how I'm going to get through 50K, but my friends will be there with me, right? No, no, they're not. So I get a text from Brandy. She's like, so Rocky Raccoon is 2 different weekends. The 50K and the 50 miler is on one weekend. The
Oh.
100K and the 100 miler is a different weekend. So shout out to Tejas Trails and Chris McWaters. He was a really good friend of mine. He's so smart. And so I had to send them an email and say, you know what? All of my friends are going to be on the 100 weekend. So my 50K, I now need to upgrade it to 100K so I can be with my friends.
Just double the distance. Big
You
deal.
know? So my friend Karen, she comes on, she's like, I'm going to run it with you. It's going to be amazing and glorious. It's just a few more loops. We can totally do
Just
it.
a few more.
Yeah, just a few more loops. And so
Just double it.
that's how our first trail race was 100K. Total accident. And it was so hard. Yeah.
But even since, I mean, you must have loved it because you just dove in. Like throughout 21, your Ultrasignup starts getting stacked. Like,
Well, there's again, there's these friends that are like, wow, you totally smashed your 100K. So my pacer at that race, Jen, she was like, wow, you ran the last 5 miles of that race, like that was amazing and that was great. And it was like, okay, so we're gonna do another one because that was, even though it was hard and it was painful, it was fun. And there's a little backstory to road running, trail running, being from the country, my mom passing away, moving to the city. So to be back out in the woods made me go back to some childhood stuff. And it was hard to go back to the country and wooded spaces and all of that stuff because it reminded me of my mom. And so I wanted to avoid all that. I wanted to be a city runner, a road runner, but all this stuff was happening. And so it kind of gave me an opportunity, I think, to face some things that I had been avoiding.
Yeah.
And it was almost like the more that I did it, the more I felt at home, that this is my space. I'm a country girl, you know? It's like before Dallas, I lived in Tyler, Texas. It's very, very country, you know? So it took me through some spaces that I'd been avoiding for a while. And that's really where a lot of trail came from. And I found my family away from my family in the trail community. And so when you say it was stacked, it was just like I got little bits of homegrown, like this is where I belong. And from there it was, I don't know, a crazy addiction. But because of my friends, it's their fault.
They sound like really good friends.
Well, I'm friends with you, Michelle, so you're in that category. This is your fault. So,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's interesting, when we realize those things that we work so hard to avoid, kind of like in the avoidance, it makes them grow bigger and more powerful and dig their roots in a little deeper. But if we can just sort of face those, whether it's a fear, an experience, or something that we're trying to pretend doesn't exist, if we can just face it and sit with it, there's a level of acceptance there. It kind of like, it's like it deflates it a little. It gives it less power, right?
oh, percent. You know, I had a bad relationship that said you're never going to be a runner. You can't do this. And from there again was like ADHD was just like you can't do this. And I was so fixated on that. And
Yep.
then too just getting back to, my roots as a country girl, and it's like I needed to face certain things. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think there was, for everyone in the ultra space, I think they're seeking some sort of validation. It's
Yep.
validation themselves or they're overcoming something and they're
Yep.
trying to validate, they're trying to like grow into this new space. It's so incredible. It's really special. Yeah.
It really is. It's so true. And we've talked about that. And I feel like sometimes I feel like, if people who are not ultra runners, they listen to us talk, they must think like we're just kind of loopy, or like who's handing out the drugs to all of us ultra runners, because there's such a powerful community, and it really is, I don't know. I know for me personally, what like ultra running literally changed my life. and continues to all the time.
Mhm.
And that's why I love it, because it offers so much. And there is so much growth and so much learning and like opportunity.
And
Well,
I
I
think
think
it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Andrea, you can go.
no. I mean, but that's like it's proof that there's so much to be celebrated. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are no
Yes, yes,
finish
yes.
lines. People just like they don't understand what that means. Like the
Right.
top of one mountain is the bottom of the next mountain. Like there are stories on the trails. I don't give a shit what mile you're at. I don't care what your pace is. There is a story that happens at 2 o'clock in the morning going up a mountain with
Mhm.
somebody from like Europe. I mean, like they're from another part of the world. Like
Yeah.
there's things that happen out there at intersections of time and space, and they need to be celebrated. But they're not celebrated because that's not where the drama is. That's not where the meat and potato, but
Yep.
if
Yep.
we could talk about that more instead of did I get first, second, third, or even, a DNF, I didn't finish.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't finish, but I met this guy from Croatia who like used to be a meth addict and now he owns pizza shops like all over like it's there's so many incredible stories, and if we could have that podcast that celebrates those connections and we can talk about how we overcame whatever it is, like that's why we're there. It's not for a
That's why
buckle,
that makes my heart is bursting right now. I know, Heidi, I can see it on your face that you
Yeah.
are too, because that is literally the whole goal of this podcast. And that is what we want to share and what we want to focus on, is that it's not about the trophies. It's not about like all of the outward, all that fluff and all that crap. It's about like the journey and the, not to sound cliche, but it really truly is about the journey and the process and everything that happens in between and those connections. And it's just so incredible if we can allow ourselves to celebrate every step along the way, rather than just, what rank were you, or, what's your place, or did you finish? Like everything is building on the next, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's what drew me to the ultra community, is the fact I've always been a slower runner. When I was road running, I mean, I tried to get faster. I got close to a sub 2 half marathon once, and then I just kept having kids and it kept setting things back. And so I was always a slower runner, but then I discovered like this ultra and trail running community where nobody cared. It was just like, and it was just so welcoming. Like everybody is celebrated. Like I'll never forget, I took a DNF at a 50K once because I had like my goal race coming up in a couple weeks and I'd fallen. I just was like, I gotta call it today. I don't want to like run messed up on the next loop and hurt myself. So I took a DNF and I was coming into the main aid station and they were like, oh, good. Like one more loop. I was like, no, I'm DNFing. And they were like, yeah, DNFs. Like they were just like so sweet. And I'm like, that's like the best. Like anyone is scared of coming to this community and just trying and possibly failing, like don't be, because nobody's going to make you feel bad about it. Like nobody at all. And they're going to celebrate that you got out there and tried, and shared that experience and those miles. And yeah, it's those people you meet and the stories you hear, and it's just really amazing.
Well, and I think, Heidi, that it's very easy for us to like build this circle, right? Social media, our trail running buddies, and we're like, everybody does this. I mean, even since, last year my jump to 200s, it's like everybody runs 200s. Everybody does this and everybody wants this.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They don't. You know? So I think like there's just this sense of we think everybody runs. They don't. Not everybody gets to. Like it's such a gift just to move. There are
Absolutely.
people that just want to be outside. There are countries they cannot freely go
Yeah.
outside. They cannot freely go for a walk. They can't take their dog in their car and like drive to the mountains. Like, I feel like there's just so much oversight on, and it's because we create our little family, right? We create these communities and we're just
This
like,
bubble.
right, yes, and we become runners. Everybody runs. And then we start doing marathons. Everybody runs marathons. Everybody runs 3-hour marathons.
Right. Everybody's fast.
Like, we create this, kind of matrix around us, and it's almost that whole, you talked about a cliche. It's like, it's it escaped my mind now, but it's almost just like you just think that everybody does this, and they don't. Not everybody can take a week off of work and go.
They play in the
And let's not
mountains.
talk about how expensive these
How
races
expensive
are.
it is. Yeah.
And even a 5K, at one time my children were 6, 5, and 2. So I get where you are, Heidi. And it's like the very idea that I would spend $100 to go run somewhere like that. It's crazy. So I guess what I was trying to say is like it's so special just on any and every level to do what we get to do.
It
Yeah.
really is. And when you said, not just simply not everyone gets to do this. Not everyone runs, but not everyone gets to. And I think staying grounded in that reality and like remembering to have gratitude for what we are able to do. And like you said, what an absolute gift it is. Like, holy shit, we are the lucky ones that
Yeah.
we can do this. And I think it's really powerful. Heidi and I were talking about this recently, and it's something I like to remind myself of, like when it comes to a race or when you're in a race and it's really, really hard, I like to remind myself, like, this is pretend. This is all like this is made up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't take it so seriously. Like, let's really embrace
We literally paid money to put ourselves in this
yeah.
situation.
And like, let's remember to have fun along the way and to be really, really grateful for every part of the experience that we get
Right.
to, the hard stuff and the good stuff, and like, weren't we lucky?
Yeah. I'll tell you one of the first incredible pieces of advice that I ever received. I was at a running store in Dallas, Luke's Locker, and this older man, white hair, white beard. I had no idea that some of the pictures on the wall, like that was him. At
Oh
the
wow.
time, I didn't know that, but he told me, he was like, because I was really scared about running Boston. I didn't deserve to be there. It was a fluke. My time was just accidental. I'm not a real runner. I'm not good enough. Like, I don't even know what's happening. It's crazy. And he told me, he said, just remember, whatever mile you're in, someone in the world would give anything to wear the bib that you have on. And that was 6, 7 years ago. And from then, it's like, regardless of what mile I'm at, regardless of what I'm doing, somebody would give anything to have the bib on that I'm wearing. Like, it's so special just to show up, to start. You're at the starting line, you're wearing a bib. If it's a 5K, if it's 200 miles, like, just you're out there, and there's someone in the world that would give anything and trade places with you to be wearing that bib in that beautiful place, moving forward. Like, and that was it.
That's incredibly just profoundly good advice.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously very, very wise, and it's crazy. Sometimes we share words with people, and you have no idea how it's going to impact them. And
Right.
look, for 7 years, I've taken that with me, and I'll never forget that day. As a new runner, just feeling so inadequate and feeling I'm not fast enough and I'm not that. It's
Right.
like, it has nothing to do with miles and pace. You're in this place with all of these incredible people doing something so special. It's just so cool.
It's so cool. It's such a great reminder just to like don't take it for granted, you know? Like don't I wonder like how many times have you been deep in the heart of a race, like in the pain cave or whatever you want to call it. Folks, I'm doing my little air quotes. You know, like you're in a tough spot. And I wonder if that kind of, if those thoughts pop into your head, like, are you able to remind yourself of that kind of mentality when you're like looking at a climb that's 1,000 feet in a couple miles, you know, does that help you?
I would say most of the time I still feel very inadequate and I still ask myself, what the hell are you doing here, Andrea? Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No,
It's okay.
it's hard.
But it's like, the secret power is just believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to tell yourself, I don't know that I necessarily think about the man in that shoe store and wearing the bib. I just often find myself like out of place and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I don't belong here. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have to remind myself like, but you're here.
Yeah.
But you're here and you're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of crazy that it's like a flatlander from Texas can do some of this stuff. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to do this. And it just feels so special that it's like, I just kind of tell myself, but you're here.
But you
And
are,
this is,
yeah.
you are here. And, I'm always just surrounded by really incredible people. And I can't express that enough. Random people that are at a specific time and place on this course, on this mountain, that they'll cry with you, they'll hug you. I mean, people that I don't even know, and they're like,
Yeah.
I follow your TikTok or whatever. And I'm just like, whenever you're really deep in the room, it's just like, I don't know what's happening right now. You're kind of out of your mind, but it's the love of other humans that are just like, they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And it's just like, I don't know why you believe that I can do this, but okay. I mean, my wife will tell me every time I come up with a stupid, crazy idea, she just, okay, let's do it. And I'm just like, what's wrong with you? like, you know, like, this is crazy. But it just shows, like, the power of the community.
Yeah.
We just have to keep trying. We just
Yep.
have to keep showing up. And we're going to let the chips fall where they may, and we just have to go. And sometimes, wow, we just finished Bigfoot. Holy smokes. Or
Yeah.
wow, we just finished Cocodona. I don't know. It's like, it's a very crazy experience, but it's definitely the love of the community and just other people believing that you can do crazy stuff.
You know, it's so extraordinary and like that's so relatable. You are so not alone. And it's interesting because it makes me think like how important it is that we need to keep showing up for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's really fucking hard to show up for yourself. You know, it's just it's really like I feel you. It's really hard sometimes, but how extraordinarily beautiful that if we can just remember to at least show up for each other, like the power of the the interconnectedness that maybe we get the chance to feel for that little bit, even if it's just that little bit on the trail when you're stripped raw and you're standing there with another human, and to allow that
Mm-hmm.
connection to happen and allow yourself to be that vulnerable. Yeah, I
I think
definitely.
Yeah.
sometimes it's like you have to remind yourself that, it's someone is in awe of you. You may feel like an imposter and you don't deserve to be there. And I know I can relate to that feeling, but there's someone who's like in complete awe of you. If I was towing the line as the same race as you, Andrea, I would be the one that's in awe of you. And I don't feel like I should be running the same race as you. And so there's always
so true.
someone who is completely in awe of you, and trying to remind yourself of that I think a powerful tool as well.
I spend a lot of my social media time on my TikTok platform because I feel like I can reach more non-runners in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And it blows my mind. I don't know, just people that are like, my 9-minute mile is so slow, and they're just beating themselves up, and it's just like, girl, you are on fire. Like,
Right.
I'm in awe of those people, and so even today I posted because it just really spoke to my heart that it's like what he was telling me is like somebody would give anything to run a 9-minute mile.
Yeah.
I mean, but we create these limitations for ourselves, and I think sometimes because comparison is real, especially in today with so much social media. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, if I was skinny like her, if I was fast like her, if I ran as far as her, if I like all these things, and if we could all stop and we could say, I'm gonna run how it feels good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not run because how it looks to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, we have to stop that.
Yeah.
Do you think for a second the people that are on the podium are having a lot of fun? Guess what, Susan? They ain't. They ain't having fun. Okay. Now, is it fun to run fast? Absolutely. Is it fun to be fit and to hit certain marks? Absolutely. But there's people out there grinding that same 5K, same marathon, same whatever it is. They're fighting just as hard as the front runners to
Yep.
finish. So it's almost like if we could eliminate pace and miles and we could just substitute effort, you would find
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
we're all the same.
Yep.
We're all the same.
Yep.
And that doesn't finish or not finish. It's like it's the effort. Sometimes it's the effort just to register.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the
Oh yeah.
effort just to start,
Right.
and just we're all very much the same.
Yep. It's interesting. That's something that I feel like as a parent, like I have always tried to emphasize with my kids. Like and I've said to them, I don't care about your grades. I care about your effort. Like don't half-ass it. Put some effort in there and just
Yep.
do what you can. And I think, yeah, remembering that sort of in all aspects of life, like let's celebrate the efforts. And yeah, like you gotta have some guts just to click the register button sometimes. Like that alone, to do the training, to put in the hard work, to get to the start line. I think like it's really easy to forget everything that goes into just getting into the event, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
much has to happen
Right.
financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, our partnerships, our kids, like so much has to happen just to be there.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I have to remind myself, I'm not a Nike pro. I'm not sponsored. I don't have a team of cooks and media and like all this stuff. Like I'm just gonna go try, and we're just gonna
Yep.
fly the bucket flag, and we're gonna go see some shit. We're gonna meet some really cool people, and and we're gonna go as far as we can go. And sometimes that's a finish line, and sometimes it's mile 43, and sometimes it's mile 82. I mean, just whatever it is. But I always just feel like the greatest takeaway is we made it to the register button. Like, we have to make
Yep.
it there first, right?
Yep.
Our time away from work, our finances, everything. And then we have to like make it to the start line. I mean, it's like it's a race before it's even a race. And I don't think that it's
Absolutely.
really ever a race, an event. Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
I like to think of it as events.
I
it's
just made a reel, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it was just like me making it to the start line of my 100-miler, and it's just this guy going like, I'm so stoked to be here today, like, this is cool, this is pretty damn cool. And I'm like, that's the attitude I want to take into each race. It's like, I'm just excited to be here.
Yes.
Like, this is the exciting part, like, that I made it here to this spot right now.
Right. And I will say, Heidi, because that doesn't happen. So my friend on TikTok, Lynn's, she's been training for her first 100-miler. It was in Florida last weekend. So with the hurricane, it was canceled.
Yeah.
I mean, like, things can happen.
Absolutely.
The fact that we even get to start is like so special. And look at all the things that you have to overcome just to start.
Mm-hmm.
So you should definitely celebrate. And I definitely think that sometimes that is the hardest part. Is having the courage to register, doing the work to feel like we're healthy enough to start.
Right.
And then just enjoy every mile as it comes to you, and share and love that human connection every mile that you're in. And if you get to continue, amazing, wonderful. And if we only make it to mile 2, fuck yeah. Like, we're here, we're doing the damn thing, because look, 8 billion people on this little rock turd thing that we live on.
Yep.
You get to do that. And so I just, DNFs are so frowned upon, and it's really discouraging, and that's really unfortunate that we let fear rob us of moments and memories and treasures that we will take with us for the rest of our lives, because we're like, well, I might not cross the finish line. Fuck the finish line. Are you kidding? You're going to be on Loch Hulat Ridge in the Southern Canadian Rockies, like, climbing this mammoth, and you're going to be looking at spaces that are like, what? Oh my, I mean, it's just going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
And there's 0.01% of the world that's ever going to get to see that.
Yeah.
I don't care if I finish or not. Give me mile 10, to have those experiences with people, right? In those beautiful places. So it's crazy.
That is so well said. Like, there's our sound clip right there. Because, my God, it's like, that's everything. That perspective. Like, have some perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met a woman on the bus ride at the Georgia Jewel 50-miler to the start line, and she running the 50-miler that year, but she'd done several hundreds plus, and she told me, she was like, I just go until I'm not having fun anymore. She's like, sometimes it's mile 40, sometimes it's mile 93. I was like, you've stopped at 93 miles before in a 100-miler? She's like, yeah, I just was over it. I was like, and I was like, that's a fantastic attitude. Like, to just, she just goes out and has a good time. She doesn't care about the finish line at all. She's just there to have an adventure. And like, that stuck with me. I'll always remember that conversation, because it's like, all right, like, I don't necessarily take that, like, that mindset of I'm going to stop when I stop having fun, because I'll never finish a race that way. But the mindset of, we're here because we chose to do this. This is what we wanted to do. This is, I mean, in our sense of the word, fun. And, it's just a good reminder that it's not, like you said, Michelle, it's not supposed to be taken that seriously. Like, it's just pretend. Like it's a fake scenario we find ourselves in.
Yeah, and I guess the race aspect of it.
Yeah.
The ironic thing is that the framework of it is this contrived situation, but I've never felt more fucking real in all my life as when I'm in some of those ultra events and in those ultra moments, right? So we get the chance to be real in this sort of situation that we signed up for. It's funny.
Well, I mean, but that's what ultra running does, right? It strips us, and ultra running doesn't give a fuck what kind of house you live in.
Right.
It doesn't care what kind of car you drive. It doesn't care what kind of clothes you're wearing. Mile 89 does not care.
Right.
And let me tell you, Mount Eldon at mile 230, she don't give no shits. She doesn't care if you're sore, you're tired, you want a beer and a hamburger. She doesn't care. And so I think there's a space in ultra running where it does strip us of all of those things, and it makes us all on a level playing field. And that's where we find human, right?
Yep.
And that's the connection. It's,
that's what I love. That is exactly what you just said. Like that is what I love about it. It strips down all the outer like layers, all the bullshit. It's gone, and we're just like human, like real. Yeah. And when you said Mount Eldon, I just got a little bit of chills because I'm registered for Cocodona in May. I'll be out there.
Let me tell you, they say 100-milers kind of like change your spirit, like they change your perspective. There is something so juicy and something so spicy about it. When we say you go to the room, you go to a special place. But that's the discomfort, right? Where we have to sit with ourselves and we have to face certain things. And that's where the church happens. That's where the come to the center, call it Jesus, call it Mama Earth, you call it wherever you want, but there is a place in there. And it's like you cannot describe it to anyone. It is for you and for you alone. And when you're in that room, you say, fucking bring it. Let's go. Or not today. And I think that's something about 200-milers that people need to understand, or really any distance, right? It's different for everyone, but a lot of things can happen out there. There are no guarantees. I don't care if you're Andy Glaze, DNF Moab last year. He just DNF'd Run Rabbit Run.
Run Rabbit
If you're
Run.
West Plate, you just DNF'd Divide 200. Like, any given day, there are no guarantees. But I don't think we would be doing it if we were promised.
If there were.
Right. I mean, what value is there? What fun is there, right? We want to go do scary stuff. We want to test our limits. And I think that's very human nature of us to go into a dark room and like, what's over there? I don't know that I want to see what's over there, but I want to know what's over there. Yeah.
You said that in the little pre-show questionnaire we sent to you. You said if you never fail, you probably aren't doing much. And that was a quote from your mom.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of resonates with the whole theme of the show. Like it's if you've never failed, like you aren't really putting yourself out there to see even what you're capable of.
I mean, that's part of the growth is to not get it right every time.
Yeah.
That's part of the learning process. I mean, if we get it right every time, we podium every time, we get the finish line every time, like, what did we learn? And I feel like, honestly, the greatest victories are in those DNFs. It's when we walk away with less than what we expected. And we are drawn to evaluate, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like what just happened,
Right.
and that's what it causes us to reflect. And that's where we learn and that's where we grow. So, I could have stayed in Texas. I could have run Texas trails. They're beautiful. They're amazing. I'm not saying that, but like there's something about when we want to level up. I want to get the views on top of Mount Whitney. What is it going to take for me to get there? I'm probably going to have to like do a lot of learning and a lot of growing. That means I'm probably going to have to fail. So we can either let fear cause avoidance, or we can let fear drive our fuck it flag and go figure it out. Right. And just know that just because you didn't make it today, that race is going to be there next year and the next year and the next year and the next year.
Right. And you can think of it all, it's all building blocks. And if you're willing to reflect and if you're willing to look at it and evaluate and assess and kind of look at, okay, like what worked? What might I be able to do differently? What do I need to focus more on? Like what, like, and you can kind of pick it apart a little bit and really find the golden nuggets that are already there and that you can like maximize even more, but also like you find those vulnerabilities and you find those points where you need to give a little more attention, a little more focus. Um, then you can get back up and you can run that again. Like that's kind of that's the
That's
whole
But that's
let's
the
do it
victory.
again.
Like
Yeah,
that's the victory. That's the big win. The big
right.
win is to not make it, to not get the award, to not make
Yeah,
the team, to get the nasty email you didn't get the job. Like, and then to keep going. That's the victory.
yep,
Yay for first, second, and third. Who's going to remember them next year? Nobody. Nobody cares. They don't. Like,
yeah,
ask me who won Cocodona 3 years ago. Nobody knows. The greatest victory is in the ability to fail and to keep going. You know, it's uncomfortable for our ego and we have to set that aside. Otherwise, you're going to be robbed of all these incredible opportunities out there. So, fear of failure unfortunately stops a lot of people, and that's what we need to say, stop. Stop doing that.
right. Absolutely. And I think that that's something that we've heard, and that was kind of like another part of the driving force for this podcast is that like we know that there are people who won't even try. They won't put themselves in a position where they could risk failing. And we would like to spread that message far and wide to stop that.
I will tell you, so in my earlier days, I would go to Ultrasignup and I would look at people in my age group who's running this race. Now I'm talking about Texas races. Do I have a shot at winning? Do I have a shot at hurting me? And that's kind of and I don't know. There was a switch somewhere that just said, I want to stop looking for wins, and I want the big, nasty, gnarly adventures that I'm probably not going to make it. But I'm still going to get a big, nasty, gnarly adventure, and I'm going to see incredible stuff. And even if I don't think that I should be there, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to go as far as I can go. I'm going to go as hard as I can go. And I'm like, we get to choose, right?
Yeah,
We can choose. I want something comfortable, and I want something like, I never had to worry about cutoff times.
right.
My first DNF was last year, and I was just like, it was devastating. I was like, oh my God, like, how horrible is this? Your ultra sign up is ruined for life. Because I used to podium a lot of races, and then it was just like, but yeah, I now know what the Tashar Mountains look like. Tusher's 100K was my first DNF, and I was just like devastated. But
Yeah,
that is the most stunning, beautiful course. And then level 100. I'm like, I'm not fast enough. I don't know anything about altitude. I don't know anything about mountains, but I have this memory and these treasures that I took away from that race. So it's like, man, just think if I had stuck to, okay, what races can I win? When can I PR? I would have
The safer ones, right? Like the
Yeah.
more predictable outcomes.
And
Yeah.
look what I would have missed, you know? It's yeah. Don't miss it.
I had
Don't
that
miss it.
realization about myself through making this podcast. I think it's because, came with this idea of a DNF podcast because I have had many experiences with DNFs and have kind of shifted my perspective in like, why do I keep DNFing? I'm obviously not good at this ultra running thing, to like, Heidi, you sign up for kind of hard races, especially for somebody who lives in Savannah, Georgia. Like, you sign up for these kind of like crazy mountain races. Like, they're not like extreme crazy, but for where I live, they're pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have like shifted that perspective into, no, you sign up for things that you might not make it in, and that's kind of the fun of it. Because I never go into, I look at flat races and I actually forego them because I'm like, that doesn't sound very fun to me. Like, I'd rather go on the mountains. Like, it's like and not that 100 miles in a flat area is easy by any means, but like I tend to pick these, races that are going to have awesome views and awesome climbs and like cool things to see. That might mean I might not make it sometimes.
Yeah, but I think that those are the greatest heroes.
Yeah.
The greatest heroes are the ones saying, you know what? I might be in over my head. I probably don't belong here. I am scared to death. But you know what? I'm going to show up anyways. I'm going to do it anyways. And
Yeah.
that to me is like, those are the less celebrated people, but they should be the
They
most
should be.
celebrated people. The
Totally.
people that didn't grow up running in high school, they didn't run cross country in college. Like,
Yep.
we
Yeah.
didn't all grow up running. Some of us started last week, and we're
Yep.
still gonna show up to this motherfucker, and we're gonna be like, hey, you know what? I
Let's
got cotton
go.
socks on and my gym shorts. I don't know, but we're just gonna go. Like that to me, those are the people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are, you're such a badass. Like you've only been running for a year and you're gonna show up to Cruel Jewel 100.
Right.
Like, let's go. Let's go. Like
Yeah.
that to me is just so much more fascinating. And I mean, kudos to you, Heidi, for saying, yeah, let's go. You know,
Yep.
I don't know what I'm gonna face. I've never done mountains like this, but you know,
Right.
I'm here. And I will take that community over someone that's like, I'm not worried about cutoffs. Instead, I'm worried about fourth or fifth place. And I'm not saying like those aren't incredible athletes and runners. We're all grinding the same, whether you're back of the pack or you're trying to get first place. If you took away pace and miles and put effort in there, we're all the same. We're
Yeah.
all grinding the same fight, you know. But I do think that there's something special about that person that just kind of shows up, you know, with their one hand held and their cotton socks. You're like, okay, where are we going? You know,
I'm
like,
gonna do it.
That was
yeah,
me my first 50 miler. I had literally never run mountain, let alone really trail. And I signed up for something without even looking at things like elevation gain. And I was like, I want to run 50 miles. This one's close. Let's try this. And had no idea what I was getting into at all,
it's
but
awesome.
loved it. Loved it.
Yeah.
My first DNF didn't even really feel like a hard DNF to me because I just fell in love with that. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
think there's a lot of magic in that, right? I always kid with my friend Liz. My first DNF was Tusher's 100K from Aravaipa last year. It's 100K in the Tushar Mountains in Utah. I think it has 17,000 feet of climb. And, you know, I'm from Dallas, Texas. And she's like, come do this race with me. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go. And I think we start at 10,000 in altitude, you know, but it's like that 43 miles where we DNF'd, I was like, it didn't feel like a DNF. I was so proud. I was like, that was the
Felt like a
hardest
win.
43
Right.
It was. And you know what, Michelle? It was a win.
Yeah.
It was a win because I'd never done 43 miles that hard. And then circle a year later, I found my new hard. At Dubai 200 just last month, girl, these climbs, I'm not exaggerating. They were just insane. And we made it 44 miles, and I was like, it didn't feel like a DNF. I was like, that was the hardest 43 miles of my life. And I was like, and we didn't die. Like,
Yeah.
yay for us,
Yeah.
So I
That
do think
course sounded
sometimes
so brutal.
I will tell you, if you've done Cocodona 250, it made day one of Cocodona feel like a tea party. It was just it was
Wow.
just so hard. I mean, because the climbs, you're climbing on scree. If you don't have experience in that, all the Canadian runners were like, it's a beautiful day in the Rockies. And the rest of us are just like, what the, what? This is normal, and that, I think it just goes to show the beauty of running or ultra running is different experiences for everybody. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can all think to our first half marathon and we were scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
The first time we told Cocodona, you're going to have that experience next year, Michelle. And it's just going to
Yep.
be like, it's scary and but that's why we do it. It's because we want to get to the next level. We want to
Yeah.
grow. And the only way you
Right.
can do it is to do it. And so kudos to you for saying, hey, we're going to do it.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it's like that willingness, that you are willing to sort of crack yourself open a little bit
Yes.
and you might seep out, you might soak it in, but it's like just like that willingness to get raw. I think another really, really important lesson here is h- how, like, Andrea, I love your honesty and your openness. And I think like that is the lesson because the truth is so many people feel the exact same way and have the same kind of thoughts. And I know I've had them where I'm like, I don't know if I belong here. Like, am I even a real runner? Like, we all think these types of things. But people, I think a lot of people are not willing to say it and they're not willing to just really like talk honestly
Mhm.
about it. And I think, if we could all just cut the bullshit a little bit and just be like, let's be real and let's be honest. And like, just like me, you're feeling this way. And just like me, you're worried about the next 22 miles or I don't know, whatever it is. But like, like, there's, there's a lot that we can benefit from if we're just willing to be open and honest.
Well, I think vulnerability is our superpower as humans.
That's
And unfortunately, society and especially social media gives us excuses to not be vulnerable, right? Like it gives us this kind of curtain, if you will, and we can kind of
hmm
hide behind that curtain, right? Like you only see a finish line photo. You have no idea everything behind that photo. Or you just see like a 5-second clip of someone, whether it's Sally McRae, Candace Burr, I mean, whoever it is, and we put these people on pedestals and we think
Yeah.
this is what their whole life looks like. And it's like,
We make all
no,
these assumptions and we add all this other
absolutely.
stuff to it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I just think there's a lot of room for us to just say, this shit's hard.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's hard. We have our own demons that say you're not enough. You don't belong here. You weigh XYZ pounds. You're not wearing, a Hoka singlet. You're not,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like so many things, right? And it's like, again, I think if we could just be in our space that aligns with our heart and what we love instead of trying to be in a space that we think other people want to see from us. And as long
Yeah.
as we're doing that, we will fly. Like the sky is the limit as long as you are truly living in your authenticity, like doing what you love. If you don't love 200 milers, don't do it. Don't do it because you think it's trending
Or it's
or
gonna
it's
make a
It's
good
it's
post.
100.
right. Like not everybody gives a shit about that. You
Right.
know, maybe they care about running a sub 25K, you know? So I think for everybody just to kind of live in joy and less in comparison, like that's the golden ticket, you know? And I think it's really cool that if we do have a social media platform or a podcast where we can talk about these truths and talk about the real struggles and the real battles that go beyond miles and pace, it's a pretty special thing.
It's
So.
incredibly special. I think we are so lucky to just to have had the chance to hear you share and talk about that. Like I am so super grateful. And I know, but I mean like for real, these are the things that we need to hear more of and that
Yeah.
we really want everyone to talk more about. Because there's so much opportunity to fly, to grow, to shine, to just to be aligned with ourselves and with our hearts and to love ourselves better and to love each other better. I know I always feel like I'm like getting so sappy, but no, it's real. Like I actually believe it all.
Right.
Well, you know, I, as humans, every single day we have the power to write our story, and we all deserve the space to celebrate our story, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like, because there's only one Michelle. There's only one story for Michelle. Nobody else's story looks like Michelle's story. And you have the power every single day to write that story. You can make it whatever you want it to be. And the same for you, Heidi. You can sign up for whatever races you want. You can run, not run. You can walk I mean, you can literally just write your story, right? And
Right.
everybody deserves to celebrate that story. But I think sometimes we don't celebrate our own story because we're too busy looking out at other people's stories and we think our story doesn't matter. But it's like, yeah, it does. It's
Yeah,
very unique. You're the only one living that story. Like, write it, live it, share it, you know? Yeah,
write a good story.
write a good story.
I love that. Well, Andrea, I mean, each and every day you're writing a story. We're all writing that story. You've got a big adventure coming up in just a couple of days. Super excited for you. I think, like you said, there's so much that goes into getting to a start line, and it's just such an opportunity to celebrate the process, to celebrate all the love. Like think of all the love that's around you in these days and these weeks getting ready. That that stays with you and carries you into that start line.
Yeah, there's every time that we're out there, I do honestly take all of you with me. I think about, some people say, "Oh, you're such a social media whore or whatever." I'm just a big time sharer. And I believe that's just like we are the collective and we are the village. And so whether it's this social media platform, other social media platform, friends, family, every single mile, it is a collective mile. And I'm always just such a nut because I'm like, I wish you guys were here. I want to show you this front view. I want to show you this mountain. Like that legit is in my heart all the time. So when you say like feel the love as we're like going to Moab 240, 100%. It is not Andrea that is like at the start line. It's the Michelle, it's the Heidi, it's the Run Try Mag, it's Wild. I mean, it's all of our partners, and I think sometimes a lot of people don't understand. Like our team, it's a massive team, and it's
Yeah.
all those people. They send the messages again, believing in you more than you believe in yourself, and that just shows like the power of human spirit. And we
No,
are all out there climbing Shea Mountain together. We'll all be at the starting line on Friday. We'll be climbing through the La Salles at 4 a.m. You guys will be there for every step for sure.
we will definitely be there with you in spirit. It's a massive community and it's mighty. It's
Yes, it is.
strong. And so that strength is going to be with you. We're going to be following along.
Absolutely.
For folks who don't know, like, where's the best way to follow you? You mentioned your TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I share a lot on TikTok. I share a lot on Instagram. So I try to, as much as we can, we try to put stuff in our stories on Instagram, just so you really feel like you're there and that you can really see the experience. I wish I had the gifts of West Plate. I really look up to Andy Glaze. His videos are amazing. But I tell you what, I start 5 miles in, 10 miles in, and then somewhere I lose it.
Falls up, yeah.
So I don't know how they do it, but definitely on Instagram and our stories. And then just partnering with Ultraspire and Vespa, they share a lot in their stories as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, we'll all go forward together. It's cool.
Awesome. Well, we are super excited for your adventure starting on Friday at Moab 240. And I hope everybody tunes in to follow along and to carry that spirit forward. Andrew, are you going to be at Javelina?
So we were registered for Javelina. This would be our third year. I love that course so much.
Yeah.
So we have a family member getting married. I was like, it's Javelina weekend. You need to move your
Oh,
wedding. But I'm just kidding. So we did defer to next year, so it won't be a
okay.
Javelina. And that's a special race for us, Michelle. I think
I
that's where
know.
I met you for the first time. Yeah.
Yes, that was where we met for the first time. I'm going to be back, and I'll be back in a couple weeks. So,
And you're so fast. I remember that year. You were so fast. I was like, God, how does she do
you,
that?
Michelle's
we
I'm
finished like 10 minutes apart, girl.
well, I think I had some special helpers, some pacers that pushed me a lot more than I wanted to be pushed, to be honest with you. But our friend Callie, she's going for a sub 24. So excited
Yeah,
for her. And
Yeah,
talk about heroes and strong women in the space. She is incredible. We got to share some
absolutely.
miles with her out at Cocodona this year, and that is a tough cookie to follow. She is so fun to follow. But yeah, she's gonna be at Javelina this year.
Yeah, I'm
it's
so excited.
You
Yeah,
guys are gonna kill it. Kill it.
super excited.
So
Yeah,
fun.
it's a special one.
What's the next race for you, Heidi?
the same weekend as Javelina, just out here on the East Coast. I'll be running the No Business 100 in Tennessee, Kentucky.
Woo!
I know.
I've
So
heard
Heidi and I we're going
that's
to
a
be
tough course.
racing. We're going to be racing
See
at the
what I
same
mean?
time.
It's my first 100, so I went all in.
That's the way to do it. And I'll share a little backstory. So my friend Brandy and I were running at Javelina. We were at mile 47 and we FaceTimed a friend in Texas who was running a 100 miler. And we're like, we're at mile 47. What mile are you at? And she was like, 49. I was like, she's beating us. So you guys have to FaceTime.
Well, I start Friday, so I'll be beating
Oh,
Michelle
okay.
no matter what. Although I might be slow enough that she'll catch up to me, so we'll see.
That's so awesome. Super, super fun. I'll need to follow along, Heidi, your first 100. There's nothing more special than someone's first.
It's
You know,
awesome.
whether it's a distance or a pace they're trying to achieve. That's so
Yep.
exciting. And I've heard that course is tough, so you're definitely going for it, sister.
It's brutal. Yeah, from what I've heard, it's brutal. So it looks
She's
beautiful, though.
ready. She's
Yeah. Well,
ready.
you know that beautiful is code for it's gonna kick your. So it sounds like you signed up for a good one.
I've already prepped my pacers. They're and my crew. They're not allowed to give me any permission to quit. They're
Yeah.
not. They're so. Yeah, it's not gonna
There's
happen.
There's only option A.
Yeah.
And the only
It's
way
happening.
through is through.
Yep.
Yep.
So when that darkness comes, you just tell it to go fuck off. You got business to do. And you go after that finish line, girl.
Yeah.
Exciting. Very exciting.
Thank
Very,
you.
very exciting.
All right. Well, we will end there today. Thank you so much, Andrea, for coming on. This has been a really great conversation. I think that people will take a lot from this episode. You've given a lot of good nuggets of wisdom that people can carry with them, and your like love for the sport and your joy and emotion just like comes through in the camera. Like, it's phenomenal. So thank you so much for being here. We will be sure to link all of her social handles in the show notes so you can follow along, because she's a great follow and a lot of fun and really inspiring. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there today, and we will see you guys next week. Just or in the meantime, to stay curious and embrace the challenges. We appreciate your support so much. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to leave us a review and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tag us on our Instagram at Let's Run That Again and give us a shout out when you listen. And as always, we welcome feedback from you and are open to ideas and guests for future episodes. Reach out on our Instagram or email us at letsrunthatagainpod@gmail.com.